The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Welcome to our show on our view on public safety. My name is Richard Aquiar, the Director of Fall River Emergency Management and the Chief Officer of Special Services for the Fire Department. I have not only my friend, but a distinguished guest here, Chief St. Martins. Chief St. Martins is going to be leaving the department soon. And after nearly 40 years, Chief St. Martins started in 1987 on the Fire Department. I'm going to give you just a short history. You started at Engine 6 at the North End for 9 years. That's where I met Chief St. Martin. He was assigned to Ladder 5 as an acting lieutenant. Then he became lieutenant of fire alarm, promoted to captain, assigned to Engine 12 as captain temporarily, assigned to Engine 9 as captain for how many years, Chief?
Engine 9, I think it was 6 years.
6 years?
As captain, Engine 9.
Then he was deployed to Iraq in the Navy as a CB. He was in the service for nearly 20 years, right, Chief?
23 years. Actually.
23 years.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't mean to correct you, Rich.
That's okay. That's fine. Promoted to Chief of Training. Then he became the Chief in Car 3 at the South End. Promoted to Deputy Chief of Operations, then moved to Chief of Fire Prevention. Then finally, he has been the Chief of the department since 2022. So, Chief, your experience as Chief, let's talk about that a little bit.
My experience as Chief, okay. As District Chief, Deputy Chief, Fire Chief, what would you rather get it to?
So let's talk about what does it become to become the Chief? It's a process, it's studying, it's working in a particular job until you get promoted. So let's talk about your career a little bit.
Okay. Well, you mentioned
right.
the base of my career already, starting out at Engine 6. Looking back, it's I don't want to say discouraging, but it's interesting the fact that two of the pieces of apparatus I was assigned to, and one of the stations just doesn't exist anymore. So we had reductions in force, but I still think that the 405 department is a very good, quality, very professional agency within the fire service. So like you mentioned, I started out at Engine 6 back in 1987. I spent 9 years there. At that time, I actually came to BCC. I came here for, I had just spent a short time in the Navy, and I was here for criminal justice. And but before my career, my fire department career actually started, I wanted to be a police officer. And I came here for criminal justice, and one of the instructors there, Ray LaVirtue, he was a captain of detectives in Providence, told me to take the firefighter's exam, and kind of questioned why you would want me to do that. And he said, well, it's a general knowledge test. You'll see how you do on it, and and any issues you have, you can work on that in the interim between the 2 years, because the fire and police were opposite years at the time. So I took his advice, took the firefighter's test. A couple of months later, got my results, did well on the test. They offered me a job, and and then that's when I started my career. So you said 9 years in Engine 6. Was a driver for a little while. Studied. That's the process. If you're asking a process, it's like they give you about 6 months to study. They give you the reading material. At the time, it was 11 pieces of literature. 2 pieces of law that you had to study, and I want to say there was 8 to 10, and I can't remember exactly, textbooks that you had to read, and then you took a statewide test, and with your experience on the job and your results from the test, that's how you were on the promotional exams. That's how the promotion list comes in with civil service. So I made lieutenant, was assigned to acting lieutenant on Ladder 5, and then permanently assigned to fire alarm. I was Ladder 5, I was assigned, I want to say maybe 6 months, and fire alarm, I was there for about a year. From there, I was transferred to Engine 7. I was at Engine 7 as a lieutenant for approximately 6 years now, and then I decided to take the captain's exam. Took the same process, the literature you have to read, and experience on the job and through academia. And so I finished up my associate's degree, I think at this time, at BCC. And I was still in the reserves as well, as you mentioned. And took the test, did well, got promoted to captain right before I got deployed to Iraq. So I was in Iraq for, I think, 9 to 10 months. Can't remember exactly how long it was. That was 04, 05. Came home, I was assigned to captain position on Engine 12. And then I was transferred to Engine 9. Engine 12, I was there for maybe 6 months to a year. Engine 9, again, I was there for about 6 years, 6 or 7 years. At that time, decided to take the district chief's test. Just prior to that, I finished off a baccalaureate program through Empire State University. It was an online classes. And then got promoted to a district chief, initially assigned to the training division, as you pointed out, for probably about a year. Then went to Car 3, which is in the Globe, in the south end of the city. Did that for 6 years. After 6 years, I got promoted to deputy, 2 positions in deputy operations and then fire prevention. I was in fire prevention for 6 years and then promoted to fire chief, and it's been 2 years right now. So that's my career in a nutshell. I was able to, prior to making chief, I was able to get a master's degree in organizational leadership with a focus in emergency management, which is, I know that's your forte. Yeah. I took the chief fire officer class through the for UMass Boston and the Department of Fire Services. So I was not a credentialed fire chief. I was I got the certification for a fire chief at that time.
When you refer to as being Engine 9, Engine 12, Car 3, I think everyone knows what that is, though. Explain to the people out there, fire alarm. What is actually fire alarm? People don't know what that means.
Fire alarm?
Fire alarm.
Okay, at the time, fire alarm was our dispatch and call receiving station. Mm-hmm. So this is prior to 911 or enhanced 911 like we have right now. So it was 2 firefighters in a room that took the emergency calls, dispatched ambulance, fire apparatus, and were responsible for overtime shifts, filling overtime shifts, and dispatching, again, all of the fire and EMS at the time. So, monitoring box alarms, because the city has over 600 boxes in the city, so if somebody takes it out of service, you have to take it out of the computer, so we don't have false activations at that time. So anyway, that's basically in a nutshell, walking people through possibly performing CPR or any type of life-saving maneuvers, okay, in the interim before the fire or EMS arrives on scene. So that's what fire alarm does. Right.
And terminology is fire dispatch, police dispatch. And
yeah. So now it's it's dispatch. Yeah. It's combined public safety dispatch, I believe, is how it's referred to now.
So, Chief, as chief, what are some of your accomplishments that you're very proud of?
As chief, huh? Wow, that's a tough.
So as I know you did a lot as deputy chiefs, mm-hmm. writing a lot of grants and stuff for the city. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about that as well then.
Okay.
From deputy chief to the point where you are now.
So district chief, we had a grant writer in the city. Billy Fernandez was a captain, and we had Jane DiBiasio, and they were a very good pair. Worked very well together. Billy Fernandez retired. He was a captain, probably one of the smartest guys I worked with on the job, and he suggested that I help out writing grants, and I never got into anything like that. I didn't consider myself a very good writer, and I started the process. He showed me on one grant that he wrote, and the very next one was a SAFER grant, which is through the FEMA, the Assistance to Firefighter Grant Program. SAFER is Staffing for Adequate Fire and Emergency Response, and at the time we had major layoffs in the city of Fall River. We had just gotten those guys back off layoff through some money that was allocated through Governor Deval Patrick, and the grant that Billy Fernandez had wrote for $11 million. I was able to get a $14.4 million grant, which at the time was the largest SAFER grant ever issued, and that was back in, I think it was
2010, 9, wasn't it?
2011, 2012
They hired all those
timeframe.
guys, right?
Yes, yeah. So we hired the guys back. So we hired 50 people when we got that grant. We hired 50 new firefighters at the time. So I was very proud of that. And then after that, I started doing the AFG grants, which is the Assistance to Firefighter grants. So we were able to get some money through that. I was able to get turnout gear for the first time in the city of Fall River. Prior to writing the AFG grants, the firefighters had to purchase their own turnout gear, their own protective gear. So I was able to get, out of the 200 firefighters we had at the time, I was able to get 130 sets of turnout gear. So the city started the process of reverting to actually paying for the turnout gear at that time to make up the difference. So I guess I'm pretty proud of those things. Probably another, I got the, moving forward, I got a boat grant for the fire boat that we have. It was a $700,000 grant through the Port Security Grant Program. And if anyone wants to go down, we actually just took it out of the water. Got that in 2020. And it's a state-of-the-art boat. It's a EMS fire combination boat where it can run as a Class 5 ambulance. It has a 1,500 capacity, gallon per minute pump on it for any type of land-based fires along the coastline or any shipboard firefighting we need to do. We can, like I said, we can use it. We've used it at some areas along the coast as well to put certain fires out. So I'm kind of proud of that as well. Let me see. It's tough to talk about yourself here, Rich. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to do the. One of the things I guess is a big thing was the fact that I was able to change the fire alarm system in the city of Fall River, where we had telephone lines running into our central station, and now we have a state-of-the-art computer system that has with radio transceivers. And so we went from telephone lines that were subject to failure because they were from the 20s and 30s to the system now that has a radio transceiver. Transceivers means it can receive signals and send signals, and so we set up a network for that. That was a big thing. Looking to purchase apparatus right now. That might be the end thing that I do, a new engine and a ladder, so we can start the process of a capital improvement process where we can keep moving forward with newer apparatus, not waiting to 25 years to change our fleet, which has been happening in the past. When I first got on the job, we had trucks from the 70s, the early 70s. It wasn't until the mid 80s that we changed the fleet, and then we did the same thing in the mid to late 2000 and teens, 2016, 17, 18, and 19. We changed the fleet again. So.
That was one of my questions, engine and a ladder. So let's talk about price. An engine and a ladder today, I mean, it's extraordinary amount. People don't realize how much that stuff costs. Mm-hmm. So a typical engine that you're looking at, mm-hmm. and a typical ladder truck, we use mainly the tiller ladder trucks in the city, mm-hmm. Except for the platform. So what is the actual cost on those things? And the process it takes, and how long it takes? I know, but they don't know. But explain the process, Chief.
So we started the process about 2 years ago. First of all, you have to identify a funding stream. Mm-hmm. So we reached out to Mike Dion through the Community Development Agency, and through the the CDBG, which is a Community Development Block Grant program. We were able to talk to the mayor and allocate $2.5 million. But the process is slow. There's a lot of approvals you have to get. We had to get approval from the HUD, which oversees the Community Development Block Grant program. So, and then the city has to approve that. We sent that out. And again, we were looking at numbers from 2022. Okay. And so the numbers we were looking at the time was a $700,000 engine, And these are not extravagant engines right now. These are just, they're workhorses. They're solid trucks, but they don't have all bells and whistles on them like you see on some of the smaller departments, you know. These are solid trucks that we need to work the fires in Fall River with the hills and with the amount of responses that we have. And the tiller truck, so that was estimated at $700,000 for the engine company in 2022, January, February 2022. The estimated cost for a tiller-drawn ladder truck, okay, or a tractor-drawn ladder truck, which is the tiller, at the time was about $1.4 to $1.5 million. So we reached out to the CDA to float a bond for $2.5 million. We just there's some issues with the at HUD about, you know, the funding stream, and I don't want to say issues. There was some more paperwork we had to do, and so the last thing was the city council had to approve the fact that they would back the bond in the event that the community that grant program would cease to exist. You know, because the city is basically paying back the money that they're going to borrow through a bond. So when the bids came in, the ladder truck had we had bids from $2.2 million down to $1.9 million, and the engine bids were just under $1 million. So we were short the money, and we've been working to try to get that fixed, and try to allocate more money to the city to get that done. So we're very close with that. We were able to bring the cost down to a manageable amount right now, we believe. So we're in, I just actually left the manufacturer that had the lowest bid, talking to him about it, and getting some language changed in the contracts, and I think we're in a good spot. So I think we'll before I leave, we'll have a ladder truck and engine on order.
It's a process. It's not like you just go to the dealership, say, I want that. It takes about, what, 2 to 3 years to...
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, too, because even with those bids being that much more expensive than they are, one manufacturer estimated 850 days, which is calendar days, which comes up to 2.3 years to complete the build on the vehicles. Another manufacturer had 48 months minimum, which is 4 years, and the last manufacturer gave us, and I don't want to exactly, it was 1,125 working days to 1,250 working days. Again, these are just off the top of my head, and it came out to 5.5 years to get those trucks back to the city for Fall River. So that's a concern. The time, obviously the cost is always a concern, but the time was as big a concern because our spare trucks,
they're getting older.
They're getting older, and we have a very good frontline fleet. We have I don't think it's ever been this good. Our frontline fleet. The oldest engine company we have on the frontline fleet is 7 years old. The oldest ladder truck we have is 14 years old. Now, an engine frontline, typically 10 to 15 years. They last, and that's through their whole lifespan. When I say so, it's and then the ladder truck is usually about 15 to 20 years. So again, we start waiting all this time to replace the trucks. You know, now they're subject to failure, and you need something. It's not like a Toyota. You go into one car, you start it up. It doesn't. You need all that apparatus and all that equipment to do the job that we need to do. Well, so we need something ready to go.
When you got on the job, we were running trucks 30 years old.
We were. The truck that I started on was a 1967 Ward LaFrance, but actually that was being rehabbed. So the first truck I worked on was a 1964, which was 2 years older than I was when I came on the job. It was a 64 American LaFrance, and I rolled the tailboard. And I might be talking on a turn here now, but I think I was the last firefighter in the city of Fall River to ride the tailboard hanging off the back for dear life. You know what I mean?
Those were the days.
It was.
How about goals, Chief, that you did not accomplish that you wanted to accomplish as Chief?
Some goals. So I did set my, when I first started as the Chief, I had three focus that I wanted to work on. And one of them was trying to integrate fire and EMS. And I mean, we're still somewhat integrated. We go to the same calls. It's the fact that because they were part of the fire department, I wanted to bring them into the fold a little bit more and have firefighters working on the ambulance and stuff. And that really didn't come into play. And in the actual departments actually split. The city saw fit to make them their own separate entity. So now they're not part of the fire department anymore. It's a third public safety service right now. So that's one thing I wanted to work on. The other goal was expanding the Fire Prevention Bureau. Having worked there for 5 years and seeing the benefits of fire prevention. I think in the 5 years that I was there and other members that were there, I think that I'm not taking credit for all that. The laws had changed, so they were more restrictive. We're getting into buildings now that more so than we ever had in the past because of the amount of houses that were sold. Because from 2019 all the way to probably maybe 6-8 months ago, the housing market was incredible. And so that being said, part of the state law is you have to get inside these buildings and make sure they're up to code before they can be sold. So what we did was, in a sense, because of the housing market, we were able to bring a lot of the housing stock up to code right now. So sprinkler systems were added, or sprinkler systems were changed. Fire alarm systems were added. Smoke detectors in single-family, multi-family houses were brought up to the new standard. So again, that was one of the things that I wanted to do. The other thing was the fire stations. The fire stations are they're old buildings. They're old buildings. The newest one is 22 years old, and they're in disrepair. And so one of the things that I was able to accomplish was to try to work on that. I know that the firefighters didn't have a contract for a couple of years. So one of the things that to build up morale was actually to start working on the buildings. So we were able to start that process where some of the stations are going to have air conditioning. And when I say air conditioning, they're mini splits, and it was twofold. It's going to lower the cost of heating and cooling the buildings because they have heat pumps on them as well. We're able to get substantial rebates from the power companies because we're putting these in it because they are very much efficient. So we're working on getting the 4 stations that don't have climate control in them that added to those stations. We're able to change the Zetron system or the notification system in the city. We had an older, more of a telephone line based alerting system within the city to alert the ambulances and the fire apparatus of a call. So it was more of an analog system. Now we went to an electronic system where we can pick areas where we're actually going to dispatch from within the stations themselves. So again, I think that was one thing I was able to do. And the other thing was to start the improvement process of the apparatus and not wait until they're 20 years old to actually start replacing those things. I get it; they're very expensive. It's not like changing a cruiser for the police department. A cruiser is about $60,000. So it's not a big expense. When you start talking about fire apparatus, it's a huge expense to the citizens of Fall River.
So you have accomplished a lot in the nearly 3 years that you've been on the job, and the city, the people should be proud to have you as a fire chief. Unfortunately, you're retiring.
Well, Rich, you got to go sometime.
I know. I know. So we have a few more minutes, Chief. Any regrets?
Any regrets? I guess you always have regrets in your career, but I think that any substantial regrets, I don't have any substantial regrets. There's little things that like anything else, you think that, okay, maybe I should have done this, and maybe I should have pushed for this more, or maybe I should have worked on this a little bit more. But again, on the whole, I think that I was very fortunate. I thought the city was very good to me. I never wanted to be a firefighter in my life. I grew up playing basketball behind the Glow Fire Station. I grew up right across the park from there, and it never occurred to me to be a firefighter. And again, it was a series of happenstance that I took the firefighter's test, and I never regretted that.
And you had a great career.
I never regretted it. I can honestly say that. I never regretted it. Think about it now. And I was going to take the police test after I got on the firefighters, on the fire department, and I thought about it. Where else? Because I grew up in a Catholic house, and my parents took in kids, and so it was always about helping other people. On Thanksgiving, we'd go and serve food to the needy or the homeless, however it was, and so my parents were always instilled that in me about helping other people, and now I was getting paid to help other people, and it's true. When people, because you go to all these instances as well, right?
Yeah.
They when people don't know what to do, they call the fire department,
And you help them.
And that's telling. I mean, to be part of that is it's almost awe-inspiring. You're realizing that you're making a difference in people's lives on a daily basis, and it is very gratifying. Absolutely, very gratifying.
Yeah.
I mean, I was very fortunate that I was able to do the job, and I appreciated the job every day.
Yeah.
I did. I did. So, regrets. Of course, you have minor regrets all along, and you should have done something else. You should have thought about something else. Maybe you would have addressed a fire incident a little bit differently. There's always those things that come on. You know what I mean? And there's bad incidents out there. You've seen them all. And but I think on the whole, and I know on the whole, the Florida Fire Department is a very good agency. We do a very good job. We're a very dedicated group of firefighters, men and women. They're a very aggressive department, and when I say that, you have to be, because the proximity of the buildings within the city of Fall River and the topography of the city of Fall River, when you start looking at the prevailing winds coming off the Taunton River, and sometimes it's substantial, with the houses being within feet apart of each other, if you don't get inside there right away and start knocking the fire down, that small kitchen fire, that small bedroom fire, turns into a conflagration in a sense where, okay, now it's coming out of this building and it's exposing the building on the side, and then you have that one and then another and another because of the way that the city is set up on the hills, and again the wind. So again, so I think we have a very good, very aggressive, very dedicated fire department. And special services, I want to give you guys credit.
Thank you,
I always
Chief.
try to give you guys credit.
I appreciate it.
Because I think they're the unsung heroes of the city of Fall River as well. It's a volunteer, Rick Aquiar's group is a volunteer department. And they don't just help out the Fall River Fire Department, they help out the Fall River EMS, they help out Fall River Police Department, and any type of help that the city requires. I know Rick just left a housing meeting where some of his volunteers are going to be helping for the overflow shelter. And so there's quite a bit of things, and any community event that goes on, the mayor picks up the phone and calls Rick Aquiar. Rick Aquiar and his cadre of volunteers are always there.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you for the service to the city. Thank you for our friendship, and
Thank you, Rick.
what you have done for my group and for me over the years.
Thank you, brother.
That concludes our show for today. Once again, Chief, have a great retirement, and I know we'll see you here and there.
I'll see you around, brother.
And thank you for watching the show today.